Richard Strauss is one of those composers who has simply obsessed me for decades. I conducted my first Strauss opera in 1995, so yes, it'll be 30 years. And I've conducted most of Strauss's operas and pretty much all of his symphonic works, and most of them many times. His string writing is extraordinary, and that's where you see his amazing facility for using a large group of strings, and yet there'll be possibly 16 different divisi in the violins, and there'll be 3 celli playing. And so he takes this huge pool of 60 people, and there'll be 25 playing here, and then there's a different 25 playing there, and then suddenly it's all 60, and suddenly it's 1. You know, it's his use of the orchestra is just as imaginative, but in a wholly different way as Ravel's or the generation before Rimsky-Korsakov. It is decorative, it is elaborate, and it works. And so in this program, I thought, well, let's see some early Strauss and some late Strauss, and then, of course, one of his most popular works. So with Metamorphosen, we are hearing the mature Strauss in an unusually contemplative and elegiac mood. A lot of criticism, rightly, is leveled at Strauss for having written works during the Second World War and at the end of the Second World War that were light and frivolous and conversational and completely ignored what was going on outside his front door. Metamorphosen is a work where, without apologizing for a moment, it examines and mourns and reflects upon the enormous loss of life of the Second World War. And we performed it during the pandemic. It was one of the works that I did with the Sydney Symphony and that we filmed and that was on the internet. And I just think it's such a key work of the 20th century, and it's the best example of late Strauss. Then with early Strauss, we have the Burlesque, which is a piano piece that's not quite long enough to be called a concerto. It is such a glorious piece of music and such a fireworks display from the pianist that when I find a pianist who's very happy to take it on, it works fantastically in this program. And with Andrea Lamb, wonderful Australian pianist who's worked with the symphony on a number of occasions now, and I'm thrilled to be doing it with her. And so to be showcasing some of the best that I do from Germany and Austria with one of the best soloists that we have in this country at the moment. So that feels like a nice coming together. And then, of course, there's Zarathustra, which most people know as the theme from 2001. And there's always a gentle murmur in the audience after the big chord finishes because people didn't realize there's more to come. Although it would be a very short concert if it was only 1.5 minutes up to that point. Powerful opening, exquisitely structured. Classic example of his use of the strings. We have use of string quartet, then becomes a sextet, becomes an octet, becomes all the violins, some of the cello. Then you add in a horn. I mean, it's just it's a showcase in how Richard Strauss composed. And it's a piece of music that has a program that has to do with Nietzsche and philosophy and life and the Mensch. We had the Mensch back in Mahler in February. We've got all that going on, but you've also got just a powerful, exciting, beautiful piece of music that is breathtaking. So that's a pretty exciting concert. If you're going to do Strauss and you're not doing an opera, these are the works you want to hear.